So is India's telecom landscape set for a sea change? Joining us now to discuss that is Kunal Bajaj, independent telecom analyst, and Rajan Matthew, the Director General of the Cellular Operators Association of India. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Rajan Matthew, good news for the COAI and for companies like Bharti and Vodafone that the launch seems to have been delayed to the end of the year.
Well, I think we were all waiting in anticipation, so this news is certainly good for the customer, it's certainly good for the markets, it's certainly good for the operators as well, because we certainly need somebody to come in and do marketing and bring those price points down on equipment and handsets. So it's not something that we are dreading, but something that we think will lift the overall market, especially for data services, which is just an incipient beginning phase. So this entry...
You didn't answer my question at all, Rajan Matthew. You didn't answer my question because I was asking you if this would actually benefit Bharti and Vodafone and give them enough lead time to be able to put their 4G services in place. They've already started. It gives them an edge, doesn't it?
Well, you know, it's not as if 4G has been rolled out extensively by anybody. Sure. So, yes, there has been some delays from RIL's side, and yes, that has given folks like Airtel some headway, but I don't think those are insurmountable leads. I think at the end of the day, the proof of the pudding is going to be on the quality of the experience and the customer's experience with 4G. We are one of the leading markets in 4G, so it's not as if we are going to have the benefit of learning from others. We are going to have to learn from some of our own mistakes and trip-ups, and so I think it's going to be a learning for all.
You're absolutely right, but Kunal Bajaj, let me ask you this. In terms of what you've heard from Mukesh Ambani on the plans as far as Reliance Jio is concerned, the commercial launch in December, they hope to cover the entire country over the next 3 years. The focus on going digital, the focus on Reliance Money or Jio Money, if I could call it that. Do you think that there is enough of a differentiator there?
Hi, good evening, Shireen. I think basically what Mr. Ambani has outlined today is that telecom suddenly is now going to become the keystone or the pivot point out of for a lot of the consumer businesses that they're looking to do. So if you think about money in banking as being one element of it, also the entire digital media piece, they outlined the fact that, you know, through the acquisition of Network 18, they now have access to a lot of content. They spoke about getting content rights for things like Jio Play, Jio Video on Demand, and things of that sort. So I think what we see is telecom basically becomes a delivery channel for an entire consumer play, which connects retail, media, banking, money, etc., etc. And you know, if they're able to do that, then certainly I think that presents somewhat of a differentiator vis-a-vis the other players that are out there. But I think, you know, Vodafone, Airtel, Idea, Tata, and the others who are there have not been sitting back for the past 4 or 5 years and essentially twiddling their thumbs either. They are aware that Jio is going to launch, and they also have been working on some of their own plans for high-speed data connectivity and offerings.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen, let me ask you this in plain and simple terms. Does it come down to price? And Kunal, let me start by asking you, because this is what we are given to understand, is that Jio's mobile plans will range between 300 to 500 rupees. We don't have details on what kind of minutes or data usage we're talking about. But is this finally going to come down to price?
So, Shireen, I think, you know, 300 to 500 rupees for a data ARPU is actually very good. If we look at where data ARPUs are today for the existing operators on 3G, that's not really a significant price cut. So if we assume that, you know, the bulk of Jio's ARPU is actually going to come from the data side, and it's essentially maintaining market status quo. Now, if they offer a lot more gigabytes for that same price, then that may be disruptive from a competitive side. But I think it's not only a price game here, because when you're going after data users, there's a big element around quality, customer service, experience, and all those things. So you may offer better prices, but if you're not offering a good quality of service and a good customer experience, getting high-end users to migrate over is not easy.
Okay, Rajan Matthew, the same question to you. And, you know, all through the Spectrum auction, the conversations that we were having, you said that Reliance has always been a disciplined player when it comes to pricing. So would you say that on the basis of what you've heard so far, that seems to ring true even as far as Jio's strategy is concerned?
Yeah, I think the price points that were mentioned of about 400 to 500 rupees for data services, as Kunal mentioned, certainly puts it well beyond what is currently being experienced. So that certainly indicates that they're not going to be doing something destructive in the marketplace. I think over the last 2 to 3 years after 2008, we've all learned the hard way that just taking prices down and playing just the pricing game just takes the whole market and just sort of disrupts the market without giving anybody any benefit. So I think that lesson has been learned, and I think the upside is in data services, and I believe that Rio will differentiate itself, and ultimately we have to understand that in the Indian market, voice is still going to be a significant component. We are at 85% voice market share and only at 15%, and as data increases, I think voice still has to be catered on for a couple more years at least on these networks. So I think we'll have to look to see how the two are conjoined together and play through RIL's networks.
You know, we're talking about competitors, Bharti, Vodafone and Idea, but let's also talk about handset manufacturers, Kunal Bajaj, and this business of, offering 4G LTE devices at about 4,000 odd rupees. What do you make of that, and who should be worried on account of it?
So definitely the device ecosystem was one of the biggest players in the 3G take-up as well. As we saw more affordable, good quality devices coming down, we've seen 3G take up also. I think a 4,000 rupee 4G device is certainly within striking distance. We're already seeing good devices out in the market today that are being priced at 6,000 to 7,000 rupees with 4G capability. But the question is, the 4,000 rupee device, does it have a screen which is responsive? Does it have enough horsepower? Does it actually leverage the 4G network and give you a good video experience? Certainly, the big players in the market, I'm sure Samsung and the likes are going to be concerned about what this 4,000 rupee device is all going to be about. But I think the local players, Micromax and the others, are innovative enough that if they see those types of things happening, they can quickly bring the same type of offerings to market as well.
Okay, let me get wrap-up comments from the both of you. Kunal, what is it that you would be concerned about as we see Reliance roll out this ambitious plan, and it's, an array of digital services, content play, it's of course pricing as well. What would you be concerned about, or what would you watch out for?
So I think the biggest challenge is going to be how do you communicate to the user everything that you're trying to offer in one big bang way. It's a serious communication challenge, especially for first-time data users or newer data users, to really get them to use such a broad array of services right out of the gate. And I think Jio will have to basically educate people and take them along that journey with them and show them what all the data offerings can do. And I think that's good for the industry as a whole. And to your point earlier, if they only go with destructive pricing as their plank, then that's certainly not good for the industry. But I think what we've heard today indicates that they're probably not going to do that.
All right, so they're not going to go in just for disruptive pricing. Rajan Matthew, the final say to you, all of this competition, perhaps disruption, at the end of the day, do you see prices coming down significantly? Is the consumer likely to benefit on account of that?
I think the consumer will benefit, and I think we have already been receiving a lot of feedback from consumers that it's just not about pricing. They're all complaining about speed, they're complaining about coverage, they're complaining about, obviously drop calls and the quality of the experience, the applications, the quality of the video. So they've indicated that they are willing to pay a bit more to be able to experience this in a fashion that they enjoy. So I think that's going to be the focus of anybody who's going to be playing in the data field, and we're going to have to watch the incumbent also the new technologies like the OTT players. What are they going to do? What are some of the other technologies that are going to be coming on? So we've got to keep our eye on those elements as well as we go forward.
Well, you do have your hands full, don't you, Rajan Matthew? Kunal Bajaj and Rajan Matthew, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Many thanks for your time.